Imagine finding a door that can take you from one place to another in less than a second. It would definitely save a lot on transportation, fuel, and time. And you wouldn't have to wake up early before work. Everything would get done faster. You could even go on a quick Umrah trip and return in no time. But what if you lost that door, or it caused you to remain lost for the rest of your life? Would you still be happy? The Portable Door is a fantasy film that was released in 2023, and it begins with a man chasing a small dragon saying, "Come here, son. Stop running. It's not fair." He enters a room filled with doors, all looking very strange. Then, he notices someone standing outside the door who tells him, "Whoever closes the door owns it." But he says, No, you won't do that. You surely can't do that." Just as he was about to strike him with his magical power, the other guy had already closed the door on him. Then, Paul Carpenter, waking up full of energy because he has a job interview today. He's unemployed and desperately needs something to help him cover his expenses. He gets up and puts his toast in the toaster, then looks at what he'll wear. But when he goes to put on the outfit he picked, he finds a stain on it, and he gets frustrated. Then his toast gets burned in the toaster, and he says, "It's just a coincidence, no big deal." Next, he tries to tie his shoelaces, but the lace breaks. He fixes it, but when he goes to tie the other shoe, that lace breaks too. He says, "It's okay, just a coincidence," and decides to leave despite being late because of everything. As he's heading out to take the subway, which is the cheapest and fastest transportation, he finds that they've closed the tunnel for repairs. He says, "It's okay, just a coincidence," and decides to grab a quick breakfast first. He finds a line with 3 or 4 people and thinks, "No problem, it should move quickly." But after he stands in line, he encounters an old man named Monty, who says, "Hi, Paul. How are you? I've missed you." Paul responds, "Who are you?" Monty replies, "I'm Monty." Monty says, "I used to teach you about the history of civilizations and music at Harvard." Paul replies, "I never went to Harvard." Monty responds, "Yeah, I taught there once, but also somewhere else." He adds, "I remember your face. You always look so out of place in the lectures." Then he says, "Anyway, it's good to see you. I'll take my leave now." And he disappears in seconds. Afterward, Paul turns around and sees the line has grown to 50 people instead of just 4. He mutters, "Damn," but still stay in line. As soon as he stands in line, a dog grabs his scarf and runs off. He chases after it, shouting, "Stop that dog, quick," until the dog disappears into an alley. When Paul follows, he finds himself in front of a door with a sign that reads, "Job Applications." Since he missed his job interview anyway, he decides to go inside. He enters cautiously and finds the place a bit unusual. He sees a TV playing and a couch with a girl sitting on it, watching intently. He asks her, "What do they offer here, and how do I apply? Do you know anything? Should we wait for someone or do something else?" She said, "Please, I want to watch and focus." He apologized and replied, "Sorry, I'll sit and watch too." He watches an ad that says, "Hey, do you want to work at JW Wheels & Co? It's easy. Just focus on the 2-minute interview you'll have, and that's it." After the video ends, Paul looks at the papers next to him, but they only have the words, "You are lucky," written on it. Then someone comes out with a woman and says to her, "All right, lady, the job is yours. Your qualifications were impressive. The rest are just formalities." Then he calls Paul Carpenter, who is surprised because he arrived late and hasn't even applied here. He wonders how they knew his name. Nevertheless, he goes inside to see what's going on. Paul walks with the man and asks, "What exactly do you do in this company?" The man replies, "We do what we can, man. What else can we do?" He enters a room where he is greeted with, "Welcome, man. We are the company's board of directors. I'm Humphrey, the CEO." They then proceed to ask him about his life. He tells them, "Nothing much, just living normally with a friend in my house who isn't paying rent. This means we'll be evicted soon, so I need a job, which is why I came." They ask him, "That's good. What about your social life?" He replies, "I'm single and live day by day." They then ask, "What do you do in your free time?" He says, "My time is all free time, so I'm not doing much, just looking for work. I used to do some drawing a while ago, but I've stopped." They notice that he keeps looking to his side and is very focused, so Humphrey asks him, "What's distracting you?" He says, "The wallpaper over there is in the shape of a map of London, you see." Then they thank him for his time and ask someone named Tanner to show him out. He got out and finds the dog that stole his scarf waiting for him outside with the scarf in its mouth. After getting his scarf back, he goes to find his friend who tells him he's moving out. Paul asks, "What about what you owe me?" His friend replies, "Take 2 months' worth for now." Paul says, "Damn, 2 months? You owe me 2 years." His friend responds, "Well, hopefully things will get better soon." His friend says, "We're not getting anywhere here. We need to travel abroad." Paul replies, "We're in London. Where else could we go?" His friend says, "I don't know, but we need to do something." Before they could continue their conversation, they receive an envelope from the company Paul had just visited. It informs him that he's been accepted as a resident doctor with the company and to come the next day at 9 a.m. through the main entrance. His friend says, See, the better has come. The next day, Paul gets ready, puts on his suit, and heads out. He arrives to find a crowd and enters the company through the main entrance, which is very luxurious. The receptionist tells someone nearby to leave. Then the receptionist asks him, "What do you need?" Before he can respond, Humphrey, the CEO, arrives with the board members who don't seem pleased with him, but Humphrey appears to be happy to see Paul. Humphrey then asks the receptionist what she thinks of the reception area's renovation. She replies, "I'm not too impressed, but I do like this guy." Humphrey responds with, "Yeah, this is Paul." Dressed in a perfect suit and looking great, Humphrey says, "I want you to help us to make the company better, just like I mentioned yesterday. Honor me and do an excellent job." They then head to their offices. Then the receptionist asks Paul, "Don't you want to change your mind?" He replies, "No, I'm okay." She says, "All right, take your time," and tells Tanner to take him from there and show him around. He says, "It's here, idiot." She replies, "No, this is someone different from the one you have, and he has a strange look of ignorance on his face." She then gives Paul a magazine and coffee, and Tanner comes to take him away. They walk through an area filled with many girls who all look alike and are typing on typewriters. The place is full of strange and numerous employees, including Monty. Tanner tells him, "The company has never failed to make any of its clients happy. As we are an excellent company, we expect our employees to be excellent as well. So, there's no chance for failure." Paul replies, "Of course." Paul asks, "But what should I do? I still don't understand." Tanner replies, "First, no more questions. Second, you need to know that the less you see, the more you should stay." Paul responds, "All right, got it." They then see a stapler on the floor, and Tanner nervously moves around it. Paul follows him, confused about what's going on. Tanner says, "The job is great, from 9 to 5 with lunch at 1 and tea at 3. It's strictly forbidden to be here after work hours." Paul replies, "All right." Tanner says, "My name's Mr. Tanner, where did you come from?" Paul says, "I don't want to say this, but the insects in the company's carpet are more useful than you, but it's just fate. Now, you'll go into this office with someone as useless as you to keep each other company." Inside the office, he finds Sophia, the girl who was sitting with him during the interview before he went in. She says, "The smell of the coffee bothers me." He replies, "Sorry," and tries to drink from the mug, but then sets it aside. He asks, "So, what are we going to do here?" She looks at him with surprise, and he explains, "No, I meant that they usually bring in people who don't know how to do anything. I'm not talking about you at all, honestly." He asks her, "Have you worked in an office job before? I just want to know if it's normal to sit here until we get instructions." She says, "Listen, I don't want any fuss. I'm part of the fast-track promotion program, so I'll be promoted quickly. It would be best if you stayed quiet during the time we share in this shit." He says, "All right, sorry," and then sees a dragon, starts screaming. When he looks at the door, he finds it's just a mouse, and Sophia laughs quietly at him. Meanwhile, the receptionist comes in. She asks him, "Was she trying to kiss you or something?" He replies, "Nope." She then says, "What a pity." She tells him, "Take these maps and extract the bauxite from them." Then, Paul sits with Sophia, who explains, "Bauxite is a mineral." She starts marking the areas on the maps where bauxite is located. When lunchtime arrives, she says, "I could die for some food right now and I need coffee too." Paul asks, "Isn't it true that you don't like coffee?" She replies, "Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know why I said that, to be honest." She says, "Anyway, you can come if you want," and they leave the company. Outside, they find Sophia, who is a board member, standing and telling them, "Come on." She says, "Do you see that woman over there? I want you to let me know as soon as she arrives at the part in the book where the hero falls into the fountain." Sophia replies, "Are you suggesting I should read over her shoulder?" She says, "Of course not, how rude. Just stand over there," and points to a spot far away where they wouldn't be able to see the book. However, when Sophia focuses, she finds herself reading the woman's mind and seeing what she's looking at. As soon as she reaches the part where the hero falls into the fountain, she signals. The board member made someone fall into the fountain. As soon as it happened, she came back to them and asked, "Did you see that?" She says, "His family paid a fortune for us to arrange this. And you, Sophia, are excellent, which is why you were placed in the fast-track promotion program." It turns out that they control moments of coincidence that people remember for the rest of their lives. They manipulate their instincts and emotions for a short period. When they enter, the board member says to Sophia, "Come with me. Congratulations on the promotion." Paul asks, "And what about me?" She tells him, "Just go back to where you came from and continue what you were doing." Paul goes back to his desk, looks out the window, and then returns to his work. He notices that when he places his hand on the map, its appearance changes. Humphrey then appears and tells him, "Place your hand on the map, leave a gap between you and it, and focus." In a moment, something shocks him, and Humphrey says, "That's it. You were supposed to search for the bauxite like that from the beginning." Humphrey says, "Come with me." He explains that the company controls people's instincts, the situations they encounter, and many other important and precise things. Not just anyone can manage these tasks. Humphrey adds, "Unfortunately, the company is on the brink of collapse, and you're going to help me save it. You and I are similar, by the way. Your father doesn't love you." And Tanner agreed. Humphrey continues, "Even when you got lost as a child, your father took a while to notice you were missing. Your home is always dirty because your mother was cheating on your father with 3 men." Paul responds, "Wait, 3? Not 2? Humphrey tells him, "We're similar. My father also didn't love me and left a will stating that I must remain under his control and follow his orders as a life insurance policy to keep me under his influence." Humphrey adds, "That's why our value and appreciation are low. That's why you need to help me. I've lost something very important." Humphrey says, "A door appears and disappears based on its own will, so you'll need to search for it. If it knows you're looking for it, it won't show up. Act like you're not interested, and you'll find it eventually. And make sure no one knows you're searching for it. That's crucial." He's told, "This is your job from today," and got out of their office. As he walks around searching for the door, he encounters a woman and asks her, "What should I do?" She asks, "What are you looking for?" "I'd like to know why Humphrey chose you." He replies, "It's just my fate." She says, "If you know anything, let me know. Don't hide things from me." He responds, "I honestly don't understand what you're talking about." She tells him, "All right, go now. Work hours are over." After he leaves, we see the door appearing and disappearing quickly. Later, we see him at home, waking up startled. A different board member reassures him, saying, "Don't be afraid, you're just dreaming." He says, "I just feel this is a good way to uncover the truth." Paul asks, "What truth?" He asks, "Why did Humphrey assign you to us against your will?" Paul says, "I don't know." He asks, "Really? Look at this," as he exaggerates the size of his leg and then snaps it. He asks, "Are you going to confess or not?" Paul replies, "Isn't this a dream?" The board member confirms, "Yeah, it's a dream, but its effects can reach reality. For example, I could make you pee while you're asleep, or your teeth might fall out." He then asks, "How did your ear get so big? Will you confess now or not?" Paul responds, "I don't know. He just told me I should look for a magical door." The board member says, "Oh no, he lost his door? That might be another way to the land of the dead, I think." Paul asks, "What's the land of the dead?" The board member explains, "It's a place people go to when they're close to death. You should get going now." Paul wakes up startled, realizing the man is still in the room with him. The board member tells him, "You're still dreaming. You haven't woken up yet." Paul then fully wakes up and prepares to go to work. Later, we see Sophia at the company, arriving before Paul. She's talking to the secretary who is licking the stapler that Tanner had been afraid to touch earlier and had passed by. Then we see Paul arriving and searching for the door throughout the company. He ends up discovering a staircase leading down, which he hasn't seen before. When Paul descends and starts exploring, Tanner appears and asks, "Did I allow you to be here?" Paul responds, "What do you mean it's just a storage room?" Tanner insists, "No, you can't be here." Tanner says, "I generally think this task is too big for you since you're still a beginner. There's no way you can do it, but I'll leave you to fail, and then Humphrey will punish you or make you suffer when you do. Now, go upstairs." Paul goes upstairs, confused about why Tanner dislikes him so much. Meanwhile, we see Sophia's manager walking with her. Sophia's manager picks up a package from the drain, and Sophia asks, "Who's down there?" The manager replies, "The ghosts. They help us, serve us, and protect us at night. Don't worry about it. Just focus on your work. Take a picture of this dog and go to that woman. Ask her for permission to hang it up because the dog is lost. After a while, her cousin, who has been missing for a long time, will come here, and they'll meet by chance." Then she gives Sophia a tour and saying, "You must have noticed the turmoil in the company. It's all because of Humphrey, the manager. His father, John, disappeared under mysterious circumstances and no one knows where he is. There are suspicions, and people feel that your friend who was in the room with you might be involved." She told her, "No, he's just a poor guy and probably doesn't even know why he was hired here." The manager says, "You seem to read people well. You look like a talented artist and can benefit us in many ways and forms." Then, Paul searching for the door. As he walks towards his office, he hears Sophia arguing with Tanner inside, saying, "I want to understand what's happening to me." She continues, "I've started drinking coffee, listening to jazz, and eating licorice, and I've never liked these things before. All of this is because of the contract." He replied, "We have nothing to do with the contract. It's signed, and there's no turning back." Paul enters, takes her, and they go to the cafe for a drink. She tells him about her new job and asks what he does besides dealing with bauxite. He remains silent and doesn't reply. She asked him what else they make him do. He apologized, saying Humphrey didn't tell him what to do. She told him to say it. He replied that she seemed jealous. She told him she wouldn't be jealous of anything because, in fact, it seemed like they weren't giving him any tasks to do or anything to work on, and they weren't even trying to embarrass him because they couldn't find anything for him to do. He told her, "Honestly, it seems like you're jealous because the CEO likes me and gives me important tasks, but he doesn't do the same for you." They feel that the situation is getting awkward, so they decide to leave, saying they will come back later. After they leave, Paul encounters the man he saw in the dream before and is startled. The man asks, "Hey Paul, how are you? I hope your work is going well." Paul, scared, continues searching for the door. While going down the stairs, he encounters Monty, who tells him, "You can't enter here." He responds, "Why?" He says, "The basement downstairs is off limits. Mr. Tanner made that clear." Paul asks, "What basement? Isn't that just a regular storage room?" Monty replies, "Yeah. Did I say something more?" Paul responds, "Yeah, you said." Monty said, "Please, can you not tell Mr. Tanner that I said this?" Paul said, "Honestly, it depends on you. If you let me pass, I won't tell him." He continues, "Finish up because you've never taught music for me or seen you." Monty says, "They told me to say this to delay your job application and make you come to us." He said, "All right, let me through and I won't tell anyone." And indeed he passed through, went downstairs, and used the search method that Humphrey had taught him. After that, he finds that he can pass through the wall of the storage room and walks inside, only to find himself in a strange place. Then he starts exploring it, finding it filled with magical items and animal-shaped decorations. Each animal seems to look at him when it moves, and he remains not understanding where he is or what all of this is, until he finds himself in front of the stapler that Tanner had avoided earlier. He tries to get closer and investigate it, only to find a leg getting out from it. Then he discovers, as he approaches and tries again, that it's a strange-looking ghost or creature, but it doesn't want to harm him. It turns out it had actually been guiding him to this place with the pins from the stapler. Additionally, when he saw the ghost, it was pointing to a specific spot. Upon investigating, he found the door he had been searching for. He opened it and found himself in front of Humphrey's office, where he was in a meeting with many investors. He tells them that the company will be able to change the world and shows them Sophia during the interview, where she says she doesn't like licorice or coffee and has a phobia of balloons. Then he shows them videos of her doing all the things she claimed she didn't like or was afraid of and says, "We have managed to control people's will, and here's the proof." He continues, "Do you know what this means? It means we can control the products people choose, elections, and everything you can imagine. We have become the controllers of people's will." They said, "It's terrifying, honestly." Paul felt that they were leaving, so he went out and found that the door had turned into a towel. He tried to read what was written on it and saw, "Imagine the place before you open it." He told the door, "I want to go to the supermarket," and he actually went at the last moment before Tanner see him. Then, he finds himself squeezed inside a supermarket fridge, and he exits, taking the towel with him, which turned out to be the door he was looking for, as mentioned by Humphrey. Then he runs to the company quickly and finds the secretary asking him, "Is someone chasing you?" He told her, "No, I'm fine." And then he meets the woman who says, "If you find it, come and tell me." He asks, "What is this, lady?" She replies, "It's what you're looking for, man." He went straight to Sophia, told her to take off the necklace around her neck, pulled it off, and threw it outside. He then said that they had been monitoring them the whole time. He mentioned the contract she signed and that hearing her talk about Tanner was the cause of all their problems. He also said he found what he had been looking for. He said he was looking for that door, and then he found it. He opens the door in front of her and finds himself in a room full of doors. Then he closes the door again and looks at the instructions on the towel, which tell him to decide where he wants to go before opening it. Then he says, "Come and see, I'll show you my apartment," and they open the door and go to his apartment. After that, she tells him, "Come here," and she takes him to the pyramids, and they explore different parts of the world together every day, enjoying their time with the door. And she sees the impact of her work in the middle of the scene, where she made the woman meet her long-lost relative. Then she continues exploring with Paul, who was with her once, and says, "I know you're thinking about how you admire me and find me impressive." She responds, "Maybe it's a lie." She says, "I don't trust it. Maybe they're controlling my emotions." He replies, "All right, let's check it out. We'll take your contract, tear it up, and see what happens afterward." Then he takes her back to their office. Afterward, Tanner comes in and asks, "Why are you dressed like that?" They reply, "It's a costume party for the occasion." Then he sees sand under their feet and deduces the situation. He tells them, "Now it's over for you. Humphrey will kill you. So prepare yourself, and since you found it, quickly take it to Humphrey." Then he exits and says, "Damn it, he knew and didn't do anything. Let's break into Humphrey's office at night and find out why this door is important or what it does." They use the door at night after the company has completely closed and enter the building. Then they wonder why the door brought them here instead of Humphrey's office. They find all the printers running, and anyone who signs them sells their soul, allowing them to be controlled just like how Sophia sold her soul and became controlled. Then they hear a scream, become frightened, and use the door to take them to Humphrey's office. However, the door doesn't do and instead takes them to a strange place. While they are still exploring the place, they encounter many strange-looking monsters. Then Tanner says to them Didn't I tell you not to come here after hours? They find out that Tanner is a demon, and most of the workers in the place are actually demons. He then says to them, "Now you understand the importance of the rules, you fools?" Then Humphrey appears and tells Tanner to leave them alone, saying, "Unfortunately, Paul, you've disappointed me." Tanner responds, "We were planning to kill them." Humphrey replies, "Leave them, I'm telling you." Tanner asks, "And what will you do with them?" Humphrey says, "It's not in your best interest, Tanner, to challenge a powerful wizard like me. If you want to try, go ahead." Meanwhile, Paul and Sophia have already decided to leave and escape quickly. Humphrey transforms all of Tanner's assistants and his clan into staplers and office supplies. As Paul and Sophia are about to escape, they haven't decided on a destination. When they open the door, they find themselves back in the room full of doors. Humphrey then arrives, telling them that whoever closes the door will be taken, and he locks them in. Then they find themselves trapped with no way out. They discover someone sitting inside reading, and Paul asks him, "Are you John Wells?" Paul asks, "Are you Humphrey's father, who has a soul contract with him? Why aren't you using it?" John Wells replies, "Really? It was lost to me?" John Wells says, "I need to take him to the land of the dead, but I can't do it while I'm here. Unfortunately, all these doors lead nowhere. We are in the bottom, and no doors will lead us out. So calm down and stop making noise." He says, "How did he trap you here?" They reply, "Unfortunately, Tanner dragged me here and I should have been more careful. This is the only place where you can trap a great wizard." He adds, "Besides, you'll run out of food and water and die soon. I'll just be left with 2 rotting corpses." Then, Paul kept wandering around, unsure of what to do, until he focused and opened a door, saying, "Come on, this one leads somewhere." And no one believed. And Joe told him, "You're terrifying." Then they went to the company, where John asked the secretary to bring her husband. He told them to send the envelope to the realm of spirits to control his son. While on their way there, they encountered many demons. Humphrey revealed them and tried to harm them. Her husband, who is a demon and Tanner's father, emerges and says, "I'm at your service, Mr. John." And just then, Humphrey grabs Sophia and her father, threatening to kill them if Paul moves with the envelope. And he said, "Give me the envelope so I can tear it in front of his eyes and remain in control." The whole company was watching. But Sophia used her abilities to reach into Paul's mind and told him, "If you hear me, touch your right ear." When he touched it, she said, "You are the one who found the door and you can find any door." He actually created a door to the land of the dead and vanished from their midst in seconds, finding himself inside the land of the dead. He handed over the envelope and exchanged his soul for Sophia's. Then, we find that Humphrey has been taken over by his father, imprisoned just like before, and the door has been completely sealed. Later, we find Paul emerging, giving Sophia her contract and tearing it up. They both confess their love for each other. Then, Sophia is appointed as a seer, and Paul is assigned to the missing persons department due to his talent.